You are now tuned into Flippin' the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
All right, welcome all to episode 3 of Flippin' the Birds. I'm Bryan Cameron alongside Mr. All Caps, No Lowercase, Chris Infante. How you feeling, brother?
That's right. You gotta all call me Chris. It can't be Chris. You know, because we got some people around here that like to go around saying that their names are all caps, and so I wanted to make sure I'm in that club too. Because if I'm looking on Twitter and I see a guy saying my name is this, but it's all caps, but you can call me this, but it's the same name but in lowercase, I'm like, damn, I want that kind of confidence. So, you know, you can either call me Chris, and if we start talking a little more and we get to know each other, I'm like, okay, you can call me Chris.
I feel like if you say Chris with all caps, you got to kind of have like the crazy eyes look and everything going with it.
Yeah, you gotta have the Adam Gates. You gotta have the Adam Gates eyes.
The creepiest eyes in the world right now.
Or the tacos.
Oh my god! All right, so today we got a lot to cover. We have Jonathan Cyprin. He got signed to the Eagles for, I think, was a 1-year deal. We have the Camus LeBlanc injuries, and we're also gonna actually dive into Donovan McNabb, who's made headlines this week as well. Before we jump into open practice, where we will reach out to Eric and David to see how things are going out there, and possibly get a response from Eagles fans right there.
That's right. So this is only our third episode, but we're already branching out to you guys all week on Twitter and on Facebook. We've been reaching out, asking you guys to please look out for David and Eric, part of PSN out there. We're gonna call them and talk to them and try and get some fan interactions out here, because again, like we said on episode 2, we're here for you guys. You know, we love the game, we love the Eagles, but we also know you guys love the Eagles too, so we want to get your input here too. So hopefully later on this episode, we'll have some of you on here, and then you get to hear yourself on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Spreaker, and YouTube.
Absolutely. So it's great times, and there's a lot to take away from training camp right now. We had a lot of praise coming out for Miles Sanders. Carson Wentz did have, I believe, one day where he was a little off here and there, but he's been apparently remarkable during training camp so far. A lot of people have compared his training camp this season to 2017's. So
so
the hype is growing quick.
Right. He's it's remarkable what happens when you have a full off season to work. You know, that's what happened going into 2017, and you saw how 2017 was for him. Last year, obviously, he didn't have a full off season because of his knee. So, you know, you saw what happened in 2018. But right now, everything is pointing way up for him. The Deshaun Jackson connection is alive and well, getting better with the day that they go on. JJAW, or Sega Whiteside, he's been going up and grabbing touchdowns like it's nothing in the red zone.
Big red zone target
during practice. You know, so like, I'm telling you, so we gotta play some really, really soft Marvin Gaye music, because I'm telling you, man,
it's a big turn on.
Right, the thought of this Eagles offense this season, who are you gonna guard? Everything's gonna be one-on-one matchups, because if you double someone, it's not like you're gonna be leaving up a scrub open. You know, every single person on this offense, no matter if it's the starting line. The starting line is going to be Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Jordan Howard, and Nelson Aguilar. But when Whiteside comes in, Miles Sanders comes in, Goddard comes in, you know, I didn't mention Ertz. Who are you going to double and leave open? You know, this offense is going to have, it has 30 points a game written all over them.
It definitely does. And I think what really frustrated me last season was a lot of people, if you really know football, knowing Carson Wentz was rehabbing back from ACL and he came back kind of rusty, people said he regressed, even though the numbers don't show that. it's a little annoying as an Eagles fan to hear so many people just talking so crazy about a quarterback who's only 26 years old, who was a MVP, who should have been MVP the year prior, who helped his team get to the Super Bowl. Let's not forget that he set the platform for Nick Foles and his team to win, pretty much. He set the whole home field advantage, everything. And last season, like I said in the last episode, 69% completion percentage. He still passed over 3,000 yards. He had 21 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. So not such a regression. More of last season felt kind of like it was his actual off season to kind of gear up and get his mind and get his body ready as well. So now with a full off season with Deshaun Jackson on his side, I'm so excited to see how Deshaun's going to open up this offense, not only grabbing deep balls, but opening up the middle for Nelson Aguilar, for Zach Ertz, for Dallas Goedert, and for even Alshon. Carson Wentz came out and said that he's been really working on his chemistry with Alshon Jeffrey, and that should be something to watch for the upcoming season. What do you think?
Right, and to work on chemistry with someone you've been with for 3 years now, that's that's kind of alarming to think about of how they were last year and the year before. But at the same time, if their chemistry was bad last year in 2017, imagine how it's going to be when their chemistry's on, because they were pretty
Exactly.
damn good.
Yeah.
With if their chemistry was off. But it's just it's exciting times to be an Eagles fan. We haven't had this stretch of excitement over the last few years since the early 2000s when we were going to all those NFC Championship games.
Yeah.
It really is reminiscent of that. Everything. History repeats itself. So it's just a cycle. Between the Cowboys being better than they have been before and the Eagles still being great, it's reminiscent of those early 2000s when they would go back and forth all the time.
Yeah. I remember those days.
Redskins are still bad. The Giants are bad. I know they had a stretch of being bad, and then they won those 2 Super Bowls with the lucky catch, and we'll get into that another day. But it's the NFC East is Eagles 1, Cowboys 2, and then the Giants and Redskins are over there across the street, looking over through their houses out the window, like, oh, wish we could come out and play.
Pretty much. I definitely agree with that. Now, before we dive into the early 2000s, because obviously we do have to speak on Donovan McNabb, just to cover what happened this week, we did sign former Titan safety Jonathan Cyprin, who's supposed to be like a linebacker safety hybrid. I believe
he's a lesser. Think of if everyone wanted Landon Collins so bad, here's your mini Landon Collins.
And he's still young. He's not fairly old. He's only, I think, 29.
He's right. He's 29. Just turned 29 a couple days ago, July 29th. Happy birthday, Cyprian.
Oh, perfect. There we go.
To the Eagles. His birthday present was signing with the Eagles. Everything was something that everybody would love to do for their birthday. But he is a name. Oh, definitely. He is a name that Eagles fans, I know myself, have looked at for a while, because he's a name that because we've had safety problems for so many years, and his name is one that's always been popped up as rumors to go to the Eagles or sign with the Eagles. Like after he was done with Jacksonville in 2016, will he come over to the Eagles? But he went to the Titans. But he's think of Mark Barron with what he does now for the Rams. I believe he's still on the Rams. Because Mark Barron is a name he's a name that people hate. He's a name that people hate. No, he was with the Rams last year. A name that people associate him with Carson Wentz's knee injury, because he's the one who hit Wentz on that dive in the end zone and tore his ACL. But Mark Barron, technically a safety, but he plays in that linebacker, hybrid role, and that's what Cyprian is. His first 4 years, let me run down for you his first 4 years in the league. 2013 is when he was drafted. He played and started 15 games, 102 tackles. Next year, 114 tackles. Next year, 2015, 107. 2016, 126. And then he goes to Tennessee for 2017, and he has 57 tackles in 10 games, so averaging just under 6 tackles a game. And from the safety position, that's pretty damn good. And then last year he was out with injury, ACL injury. So he's coming back this year. So he has very good pedigree, and he's a guy that, especially with Kamu out for a few weeks now, with his MCL sprain, grade 3, which is the highest. So that's a 6 to 8 recovery time. But
yeah, which luckily he doesn't need surgery, thank God.
Right, yeah. So no surgery, just a rehab. At least it's not ACL. MCLs, you don't need surgery on. It's just rehab. It's a 6 to 8 week recovery time, and right now we're 5 weeks away from game 1. So he's going to be out the rest of the preseason, rest of practice. That's fine. So you're looking at maybe he comes back week 4, which is incredible to only miss a guy of KGH's stature and ability for only 3 games and have him for the rest of the season. But Cyprien, you bring him in, you could as that sub, linebacker package. You're able to now keep Jenkins back at safety instead of creeping him up like they've been doing in the past with keeping McLeod back there and Corey Graham or the other safeties back there and creeping up Jenkins towards the line of scrimmage. Now you could bring Cyprien down towards the line of scrimmage, and he's a big thumper. He could clog running lanes, and you could keep Jenkins back in the outfield, so to speak, to be a ball hawk. So it increases the tenacity of this defense, and we're not really sacrificing anything roster wise because unfortunately Grugier Hill got hurt, so Cyprien will just move into that role. With the other linebackers coming up too, but so I think I love this signing.
It's a great signing. At the end of the day, this is what the Eagles do. They get quality players to add to the depth because people buy into the culture of Philadelphia at the end of the day. And this is a great signing great timing for the signing as well because of the Campbell injury. This happened before the injury and the LeBlanc injury as well. This is adding depth to a very much needed secondary. And to have now Jenkins, Cyprien, McLeod when he does get back, and Sendejo back there to continue to rotate, the Eagles I feel like they're finally in a good spot when it comes to the secondary.
I wanna compare Howie Roseman to a supermarket chain. I don't know if you've ever been to Aldi supermarket.
You know what? I see it all the time on Route 22 out here in Jersey, and I've never stopped in.
Aldi. When I went to college in upstate New York, so in SUNY Cortland, up by Syracuse. So if anybody's listening that lives upstate New York, you know exactly where I was. And Aldi, and they're making a name for themselves down here in Jersey too. For those of you that don't remember from last episode, we both are from Jersey. I'm in Morris County, and over here in Rockaway, there's an Aldi. They just made one over by my parents' house in Nanuet, New York. There's one coming up. And they're one of those supermarket brands that they're a great supermarket brand that has stuff and goods and groceries for half of the cost, if not more, than like Stop and Shop, than a ShopRite, than an A&P, than any of those brands. But they get away with it because their names are kind of like knockoffs of the major brands. So, for example, I remember in college walking around and I had to get butter. So I go over to the butter and I look at one and it says, "That's not butter" on the thing. I'm like, what the hell does this mean? So someone said to me, "That's the same brand as I Can't Believe It's Not Butter." I'm like, oh, so it's the same thing. It's just that they switched the names around so they could cut the cost, or instead of Cheerios, it's just O's on the brand. So they have so many knockoff brands, and this is what Howie Roseman's doing. He's getting the same exact brand of player, like a Landon Collins and a Jonathan Cyprien, but at half the cost, if not more, and the production is still going to be there. The product is still there, And that's what Howard Roseman does. He searches around, he gets quality players, names that you'll recognize, but they're not the ones that you're like, oh, he was an all-pro, he was a Pro Bowler. He may not be getting those guys, but he's still getting guys who have done it in the league before and will do it for us. Malik Jackson, Zach Brown, who hasn't had a great training camp so far, but these names that you know without the price. And that's Howie Roseman. Mr. Howie Roseman is the Aldi of the league.
Well, I definitely respect that. Howie Roseman is definitely put himself in a different class when it comes to just handling the roster, handling the team from here on out. So with the Cyprin signing, like I said, Camu's out. Camu's out for the 6 to 8 weeks. Does not need surgery. LeBlanc, unfortunately, the latest he's out is until November. He actually sustained.
We can't talk about him too much because then Liam's gonna start crying.
Yeah, so I'm trying to just rush through him. He has the same injury as Jalen Mills, who Mills no word on how he's progressing yet, but luckily there's been nothing but great feedback coming out of training camp in regards to Rasul Douglas, who I think Chris could attest to this. We're big fans of on the show.
Yeah, yes,
Sidney
sir.
Jones, Avante Maddox. So, like I said, I feel like the secondary is in a great position. I feel like moving forward, even Carson Wentz actually complimented the secondary, saying that they're monsters back there pretty much. He's like they're in a special place right now. So it's something definitely to look forward to. So should we touch into Mr. McNabb now? Are you ready for this one?
Yeah, just to touch on those corners again. We're looking at probably week one as a Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas on the outside with Avante Maddox in the slot.
Which is
And with
perfect,
that,
I think, in my opinion.
I'm sure Darby's going to be out, Mills is going to be out, which is fine, given that it's not that you could rush these guys anymore. We have the depth now. We have the depth with still the production, where Sidney Jones has been going crazy this training camp.
Yeah.
Almost every tweet I see is Sidney Jones was picked off once. Sidney Jones was batted the ball down. Sidney Jones made a great diving interception. And the same thing with Douglas. Douglas, great batted the ball. He just tipped the pass, this and that. Yeah, and Maddox, he's still great. He was a great rookie last year, and he's going to do even better things as a second-year player. So even though if those three guys are starting, we're in a very good spot. So it's a great day. It's a great season to be an Eagles fan this year. But
It definitely is.
But leading into years that were still great to be Eagles fans, but ended up being disappointing every year. Those McNabb years. McNabb is an absolute legend in Eagles history. He's the all-time passing leader in Eagles history, and that will be so until Carson Wentz breaks it. But he's a legend.
He definitely is.
People are questioning his legend status outside of the Eagles. Is he an all-time great NFL player as opposed to an all-time great Eagle? And a case can be made on both sides. I love McNabb. I have his jersey. I still have his jersey. Do I think he's allowed enough now that he's been out of the league for how many years? Yes. Sometimes he doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. But especially when he talked about Wentz that one time about
I really think that's what harms him the most is his continuous liking to come out in the media and going against pretty much Philadelphia. Just to interrupt you real quick, I became an Eagles fan because of McNabb and Westbrook, as I said before. And one thing that really bothered me about when Wentz was getting drafted was after Wentz got drafted, McNabb kind of, I don't know if anybody else read these reports, but at the time McNabb actually went to kind of train with Dak Prescott. I feel like it was kind of like a spit in the face of the Eagles fans in a sense, because you're not really passing the torch the right way to Wentz, and instead he was always just throwing foul vibes towards Wentz, I would say.
Yeah, so he's definitely a polarizing figure, but regardless of how you feel about him as an Eagles fan, he's the all-time leader in passing yards for our team. With 32,873 yards. He has a 2.1 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio. That mean for those of you that don't understand that means he's throwing at least 2 touchdowns before he gets intercepted. He has 216 touchdowns and only 100 interceptions in his entire career, and that's great. He is 25th all time in the history of in NFL quarterbacks. He is 25th all time in passing yards, and of those 100 interceptions, his career high in interceptions was 15, and that was with the damn Redskins. That one year he was with the Redskins, he had 14 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. And then the following year, he only played 6 games for the Vikings. He had 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So 17 of those 100 interceptions. Actually, I'm wrong. He had 100 interceptions with the Eagles, and then he had another 17 between the Vikings and the Redskins. So forget I said all of that, everybody. But still, only 100 interceptions in 11 years. That's less than 10 a year. That's most guys nowadays they're at 10 interceptions through 12 games. But for McNabb to have his career high in interceptions was his second year in the league with the Eagles, and that was 13 interceptions. The following year he had 12. Then he had 6. Then he had 11. His rookie year he only had 7. He only played in 12 games and he started 6, but 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Then he had 17 and 6 in 10 games in 2002. 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 2004. Then 16 and 9, 18 and 6, 19 and 7, 23 and 11, and his final year was 22 and 10. He was so consistent on his performance. He was averaging well over 200 yards a game. His highest was 278 yards a game in 2005. He was a great quarterback for us. But then on the other side, we went to all those NFC Championship games, and then 01, 02, 2001 through 2003, or 2004, and just one Super Bowl appearance out of all of that, and one Super Bowl loss to the damn Patriots. But he threw over his career. He only made the playoffs with the Eagles. So those 2 years with the Redskins and the Vikings, he didn't make the playoffs. So in his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in the playoffs, he has 17 interceptions. So his performance wasn't there in the playoffs than it was in the regular season. So that's why people are bringing him down. But I don't understand all the hate when you got some guys in the Hall of Fame that were worse than McNabb.
Yeah, I believe McNabb, completely honestly, I do believe he does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But at the same time, I feel like instead of him going on a kind of a tour to show people why he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, he needs to just let it happen. I mean, he has so many people endorsing him. You have Andy Reid, you have Doug Peterson, you have several teammates that have endorsed McNabb. But I think he just needs to let it happen at the end of the day. His stats are remarkable. He was a very consistent quarterback for us. He was always doing everything he could to take us to the promised land. Unfortunately, when we did get there, we did lose. The reasons as to why we lost, nobody will ever really be able to justify it, as much as T.O. and McNabb will feud against it. Like Chris said, the stats really show everything. I mean, numbers don't lie at the end of the day. And that's a true testament to who McNabb was as an Eagle. Unfortunately, he did end up with the Redskins and then the Vikings. But other than that, his tenure with the Eagles, it showed that he definitely deserves to be in Canton one day.
Right. We talked about last week how Wentz's 2016 weapons were, Dario Green Beckham and, Jordan Matthews. No disrespect to Jordan Matthews. But McNabb had Todd Pinkston, James Thrash, Fred X, Freddie Mitchell. Freddie, I would like to thank my hands for being so great. Mitchell, Greg Lewis, and it's Jason Avant, who I love. Jason Avant, I absolutely loved him. Mr. Playboy Playmaking, Hank Baskett, Dante Stallworth, Reggie Brown, and outside of Brett Selleck, it was L.J. Smith and Chad Lewis, the tight end for him.
And he still made his numbers. That's the crazy part.
Exactly. So you had McNabb with these guys who, on any other team, probably wouldn't be the number 3 option or number 4 option on all these other teams, and they were with the Eagles, making McNabb, throw to them and hope that they performed, and McNabb made them better.
Absolutely.
I quickly to go through his NFC championship years or his best years. In 2000, his leading receiver had 735 yards, and that was Chad Lewis, a tight end. And McNabb had 3,300 yards that year. So for Chad Lewis, the tight end, 700, and we're not dissing tight ends because Zach Ertz is the greatest. But his leading wide receiver was Charles Johnson with 642 yards. Then Torrance Small with 569. That was in 2000. In 2001, he had his highest was 833, James Thrash. Then the next was 626 in Deuce Staley. And he had 3,200 yards again.
A running back.
A running back was his number 2 receiver that year.
Oh,
in
wow.
2002, he had 2,200 yards because he only played 10 games. And the leading receiver throughout 16 games was 798 yards, Todd Pinkston. He only played 10 games, McNabb did, but still, look at who he was throwing to.
And which showed when T.O. got there, it showed why they made it to the promised land, because McNabb finally had his Robin.
Right. McNabb in 2000, this is 2003 now, 16 games. He went 12-4, 3,200 yards, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and his number 1 receiver was Todd Pinkston with 575 receiving yards. 575, and McNabb still threw for 3,200 yards.
That's freaking remarkable.
2004, when they went to the Super Bowl, McNabb had 3,800 yards, almost 3,900, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Leading receiver, there we go, T.O., 1,200. So finally, he has a 1,000-yard receiver, and it's Terrell Owens. It took Terrell Owens coming over for him to have a productive receiver. And then Brian Westbrook had 700. Todd Pinkston had 676. Todd Pinkston, for as much hate as I'm giving him right now, he was a very productive receiver for us. And then 1 year later with T.O., he had his whole
little spiel.
Yep, he had his whole, doing sit-ups in the driveway. He only played 7 games for us. He only played 7 games for us, and he still had 763 receiving yards.
I really wish that duo went further, man. That should have been such an imprinted duo in our history. But it's at the end of the day, it's hard to see what egos can really do, not Eagles, what egos can really ruin.
And the year without T.O., the first year without T.O. for any game, Reggie Brown 816. So you see that drop off from talent, and McNabb still made it work.
He produced.
And you look at, he finally had Kevin Curtis, 2007, 1,100 yards. He's a name that no one really talks about because he was a 1 year wonder, 1 or 2 year wonder. And you see a lot of those guys nowadays that they put up the numbers and then all of a sudden they drop off.
Terrell Pryor.
Yeah, Terrell Pryor. Yep. 2008, Deshaun Jackson's rookie year. 2008, 900 yards. And then 2009, McNabb's final year with us, he had that wasn't his final year. We had Deshaun Jackson 1,100. So you see, we finally get a receiver worth something. And he
Mm-hmm.
got, I mean, they didn't do much. 2009 was the last time I think they went to the NFC Championship game with McNabb against the Cardinals. But you know, he had nothing. He
Yeah.
really had
Majority
nothing
of his career.
growing through the Eagles. And I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to disrespect the players like that. But compared to other years, what other quarterbacks had, McNabb's performers weren't up to par with what the rest of the league had, what the upper echelon teams had, and they
Yeah,
were
he didn't
still
have.
on team.
Yeah, he didn't have a Hall of Fame talent around him at the end of the day, and that could really harm a quarterback. And that's the reason I truly believe that Howie Roseman, after Carson's rookie year, went after the Alshon Jeffrey, the Torrey Smith, and then now he's brought back Deshaun Jackson. He's added more weapons, so it's definitely evident the talent that needs to be around such a great quarterback at the end of the day.
Right. So we're actually looking at Eric Reese, who hopefully we're gonna talk to in a couple minutes. His article, he made an article that Donovan McNabb belong in the Hall of Fame, and he compares him to Troy Aikman, who has 165 passing touchdowns to 9 rushing touchdowns, and where McNabb has 234 touchdowns to 29 rushing touchdowns, and almost 30 less interceptions and 5,000 more yards passing. But then you look at Aikman; he won Super Bowls. You may make the argument that Jerry Jones is trying not to make the argument for, but it's what happened. The last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, they had Emmitt Smith on their team.
A Pro Bowl running back.
Pro Bowl running back and a league leader in rushing that Jerry Jones wants to say, oh, you don't need a rushing leader to win the championship, even though that's what you did last time you won the Super Bowl. So Troy Aikman, you want to say he has 2 Super Bowls, but at the same time, we could say Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl. But was he the reason why they won the Super Bowl, the Ravens did? No, their defense. Was Troy Aikman the reason why they won the Super Bowl? Probably not. Emmitt Smith. And they had a great defense back then, too. And then you look at Warren Moon, who has has more passing touchdowns, less rushing touchdowns, but also had 233 interceptions. 233 interceptions.
That's a lot of freaking interceptions. I'm looking at it right now. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's he played 4 more years than McNabb.
But if McNabb played those 4 more years, he would have probably surpassed Moon.
But still, he would have surpassed Moon in touchdowns, and still would have been less than half in interceptions.
Wow.
So, and then you got Namath, Joe Namath, Broadway Joe, 173 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns, and almost 50 more interceptions. And he has a Super Bowl. He has a Jets' last Super Bowl win. But, he, by all accounts, McNabb belongs to be in a Hall of Fame. He wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's been waiting for so long now.
He definitely deserves it.
He definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
And his QB rating was better than all of them. He had an 85. Troy Aikman had 81. Warren Moon had 80. Namath had 65. So it's like we said before, McNabb's numbers is a true testament as to why he belongs in Canton. As for why he's not there yet, let's be completely honest. He's an Eagle. He's an underdog.
He's an Eagle, and he's an outspoken Eagle too.
Yeah, definitely.
You look at Brian Dawkins. He was first ballot Hall of Famer, written all over him. Absolutely. With all the stats. But he was a second-year inductee. You see, Ed Reed was phenomenal. I am not taking anything away from Ed Reed because he is definitely a first-ballot Hall of Famer. And Troy Polamalu is eligible for next year. He's probably going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. But you cannot tell me, and I don't care who's listening to this, you will never be able to convince me otherwise that Brian Dawkins did not deserve to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he definitely did. He was, even when he was let go to go to the Broncos, he was still doing everything that the Wolverine could. He was a phenomenal athlete. Right. And that nobody, I truly believe that nobody really played. I would say possibly Ray Lewis comparable, but nobody really played with the passion that Dawkins brought to the field every week.
Dawkins was an animal. What the next? We miss you. both.
Definitely
Malcolm
will
Jacobs
do.
is doing his best job to remind us of you.
I freaking love Malcolm though. So now practice is underway. I'm actually streaming it on my phone right now. They're giving live look-ins into the offense. Should we give David a call?
Yeah, let's give him a call. Let's get you guys on here.
All right, let's see.
Hold on. Hey, speaker on. Here we go. Hey, guys, what's going on?
Blink twice if you can hear us.
Nice.
Hello?
We just got invaded.
We're good.
We definitely
by
just did.
Lincoln Financial Field. We were just invaded by Lincoln Financial Field.
We'll pick back up on the
We're
pack,
just
guys.
walking into the stadium now. Just want to give you guys a heads up about this. The Philadelphia Soul of the Arena Football League are heading to the Arena Bowl.
We're going to the ship.
All right.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
look, fans are still walking into the stadium as we
Empty your
speak.
pockets. We got to get into the stadium.
Yeah, empty your pockets regardless. Blah blah blah. There we go. And we're going. All right, let's do this. Yep. All right. So let's wait until all four guys come in. Yeah, I'll say there's still a big crowd of people still coming in.
All right.
pretty packed over there?
How's the mood over there right now?
Fans are excited. They're excited to see some football finally. Am I right? Fans are excited.
Oh, absolutely. Ready to see some football. I mean, if you go to the AFL games, there's a perk. You have football literally when there's not football. So it's fantastic. You know, as David already filled you guys in, we by Philadelphia Soul are going to Arena Bowl 32 to face Albany Empire in Albany. They are the higher seed. But anyway, back to where we're at with the Super Bowl champions, Super Bowl 52 champion Eagles. We're walking right into Lincoln Financial right now. We're making our way to the field. We're walking up steps with a few fans right now, all of lovely Philadelphia.
How's the energy over there? How's the energy at the Linc?
Energy is through the roof. I mean, this is Philadelphia. And there's never a time where energy is not through the roof. I mean, the last 4 years as a Phillies fan, energy's been through the roof when it shouldn't have been. This is Eagles football. It's by default through the roof.
I don't even know what beer in there too. I want a Corona.
You're making us very jealous right now. Two
Just a
Jersey
little
guys,
bit.
2 hours away from you guys right now. But it definitely already. I mean, it's only a practice, and it just feels like the energy right there is we're ready for a game against the Cowboys.
Basically a Cowboys game. I mean, ask a Giants fan if they're happy to watch Daniel Jones right now throw a ball. I'm happier to watch Sudfeld throw a ball right now. Can't wait.
Well, I'm pretty sure Giants fans are waiting to catch the ball from Daniel Jones.
I'm ready for GJ.
So which one's better? Hey, look, I'm doing some hot take, fire right now. But we're walking through, and there's Eagles touchdown. Looks like, man, I can't actually make out who that is on the screen. Hold on.
So I'm live streaming it right now, but all I see this whole time for the past 5 minutes has been nothing but commentators.
Man, practice has been going on for the last 45 minutes now, so it's.
The lower bowl is packed right now. There's about, I'll say, roughly 30 to 40,000 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's an amazing atmosphere right now here. Just early on looking now, they got Nate Sudfeld in taking the next reps. All right. Yeah, that's what we're going on right now. End zone, touchdown, Nate Sudfeld to.
Speaking of Nate Sudfeld and your Daniel Joneses.
Yep.
Who was that touchdown to?
It was Joshua Perkins. I caught the touchdown. And Sudfeld's back in.
Right, that was also the one that we were walking in. I couldn't tell who it was. It was also Joshua Perkins.
No, it was Sean Jackson.
No, it was not Trent. It was
Sudfeld looking, fires, caught. Boo Birds. Oh no, a Dallas Cowboy fan just arrived in the stadium.
Get him on the pod. Gotta get him on the pod.
Daniel Jones himself.
Yeah, it looks like it. And we got Boo Birds.
We got Daniel Jones himself. He showed up the Philly to be intercepted by Philly. Wow, already before the season started.
Already is right. Oh, watch out. Oh, here we go. Oh my God, this place is ready to go nuts right now. They are ready.
This is the type of content that you get from Philadelphia
Oh, watch out. Going to the end zone. Oh, here we go. Just listen. New York Giants fans here.
Okay. They already got
Right there. Right there.
For those of you listening, I want to lower your volume if you're going to be deaf after this episode.
I'm telling you guys, you have to be here. You don't know what you're missing.
This is the content that you get from Philly Sports Network. You just hear the crowd. You just basically hear
Sudfeld end zone.
Exactly what fans think.
Dropped in the end zone.
Giants fans who show up. I mean, it's wild to me. There hasn't been an official down of regular season football yet, and already the Giants have been intercepted by the Eagles.
Yep, already is the key word.
So Sudfeld's taking most of the reps right now. I think I'm assuming Carson's off the field.
Yeah, Carson's on the field now. He's about to come in, take some snaps with the first team offense on 7-on-7 drill. Yep. So that's what we got right now on the red zone at the 2-yard line.
So if you guys go over to my page or at Eric Reese PSN, we are actually live from our seats at the camp. If you guys want to actually see what it's like here, how Phil is,
End zone, dropped in the end zone.
There's a lot of good defense going on. So as much as it pains me to not see the Eagles score, it's a good thing because their defense is balling out.
Yep, exactly. All right, guys, we'll be in touch.
So for those of you listening, we've done 8 games so far. I have the Eagles 7-1 through 8 games, and Bryan is a Debbie Downer with 6-2.
Wait, I have them at 6-2.
6-2. You have them. Just to recap. Let's see.
He said I'm a Debbie Downer. I just called that.
So we got, let's see, through the first 4 games, we both had them beating Washington, beating Atlanta. You had them losing to Detroit, beating Green Bay. I had them beating Detroit and losing to Green Bay. Next 4 games, we both had them beating Minnesota, beating them at Dallas, beating the Jets. I had them beating Buffalo. You had them losing to Buffalo.
Okay, as a trap game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, guys. I am a little bit of Debbie Downer right now.
So we got November 3rd, home versus the Double Doinks, the Chicago Bears. So they got they lost Jordan Howard to a better team, this team called the Philadelphia Eagles. But they did draft David Montgomery in the 3rd round, who was a very I was high on Montgomery coming in. If we didn't get Sanders, I would like to see him. They did add Ha-Han Clinton-Dix, who I think is hurt right now. They got Buster Skrine, cornerback. They got running back Mike Davis, and wide receiver Cordero Patterson for their special teams. Last year, their passing offense was almost abysmal. It was 21st in the league. Rushing offense was 11th with Tyreek Cohen and Jordan Howard. Their defense is the bread and butter of this team. Even though Matt Nagy is a great offensive mind, their defense is what runs this team. And they had the 7th best passing defense last year, and they had the best rushing defense last year. They have a guy named Khalil Mack, who wreaks havoc on opposing tackles, not named Lane Johnson. So, Lane Johnson, if any of you have seen the video, Lane Johnson pretty much picks up Khalil Mack during the game and slams him down to the ground. If you're doing that to Khalil Mack, you're absolutely a beast. They lost Adrian Amos, who was an all-pro safety. They lost Bryce Callahan, and they lost arguably their biggest loss outside of Adrian Amos was Vic Fangio, their defensive coordinator, who went to be a head coach for the Broncos. Vic Fangio is a great defensive coordinator.
Which was last season was a true testament to that as well.
Right, and he got to play with Khalil Mack on his defense, Adrian Amos, but now he's not there. So they replaced him with Chuck Pagano, who before being not successful head coach for the Colts, he was a very good defensive coordinator. He's a very good defensive mind, but he's not Vic Fangio. Yeah. So even though they have Khalil Mack, they lost Amos, they lost Callahan, the seventh-ranked corner in the whole league, according to Pro Football Focus in 2018. And Mitchell Trubisky isn't that great of a passer. You know, he does have an offensive mind behind him, but he's not an elite quarterback. He's a game manager. And he's going to have to rely on Tariq Cohen, Mike Davis, and David Montgomery in the backfield. They have Allen Hurns out there, who's a fine wide receiver. But, you know, this game is not going to come down to a field goal. Well, if you're a Bears fan, you hope it doesn't come down to a field goal.
If anything, they have depth at kicking right now.
Yeah, you guys have a depth chart for kicker right now. You know, whereas other teams have depth charts for every other position on the roster except for kicker. You guys have a nice little training camp battle for kicker. But this game's at home. It's at the Linc. People are going to be going crazy against the Bears in the stands, screaming out double doink over and over and over. This game, Eagles win. They're 8-1.
I think I have to say there's no chance that the Eagles lose this game. The reason I'll say that is because, one, I don't think we've lost to the Bears since we've acquired Alshon. Two, like Chris said, Mitch Trubisky, I truly believe he's going to have a season where he regresses completely. He's a glorified game manager, in my opinion. They do have a great receiving corps. They do have Trey Burton. They do have Allen Robinson. They have Taylor Gabriel as well. And the running backs with David Montgomery back there now, alongside Tariq Cohen. It should be a scary sight. But I think this team caught lightning in a bottle last season, and I can't see them doing it again. I just can't see them doing it again. So I have to 1,000% agree with you on this one that Eagles take this one.
All right, so next we have November 10th, the bye week. And I'm a big fan. I hate when the bye week's early. Like the Jets have the bye week in September. I love having the bye week in November because right now we are 9 games into the season. There is no way, you see Grugier Hill right now and Mills and Darby. There's no way the Eagles are healthy leading into the bye. With this bye here, right in the smack dab in the middle of the season, a little after the middle of the season, get everybody healthy for the last 6 games of the season, 7 games of the season, and then playoffs. Mm-hmm. So it's perfect, you know. But then, and especially going into the next week, it's another home game, and we are hosting the newest 5th highest quarterback getting paid in the league, Mr. Brady, comes to Linc. November 17th, he comes to the Linc for a big time battle.
This is nice. I like this.
You know, and these are games that I would love to go to, but like I said in previous podcasts, my wife's due November 29th, so I don't think I'm going to a game on November 17th. You know, they, with Tom Terrific, I say that with sarcasm, their passing offense 8th in the league last year, rushing offense was 5th. Their defense is not that great. Passing defense 22nd, even with Stephon Gilmore. Rushing defense was 11th. They did add former Eagle, who did great for us last year, Michael Bennett. They added Demaryius Thomas, former All-Pro, former Pro Bowler, who's been hit with injuries the last couple of years, which sucks for him because he was such a great receiver. But he's the kind of guy that the Patriots grab. Like if Howie is Aldi's and he gets one player or 2 players, non-brand players for cheap, Bill Belichick is Costco because he can grab a whole lot of players in bulk for a low price and get stuff out of him. Like he got Demaryius Thomas, who's going to want to show that he's healthy, and when he's healthy, he's elite. They got Keneal Harry in the first round, another wide receiver. They brought back Jamie Collins after a couple of years with the Browns, that he used a former Patriot. Benjamin Watson came out of retirement, joined them, and they drafted in the second round one of my favorite defensive ends in the whole draft, Chase Winovich, who's a beast. But you look at him, and if he wasn't drafted, if you just look at him and say, what team do you think he belongs on? You would have said the Patriots or the Raiders. Just the way he looks. Just the way he plays. But at the same time, they lost a lot. They lost Josh Gordon. Who knows when he's going to come back because he's suspended again for all his drug problems.
Well, he filed for reinstatement too. I think yesterday or the day before, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but there's no way he's playing this year. He's already been suspended for a year, and when you get suspended again, there's no way. And they lose Trent Brown to the Raiders. They lost Malcolm Brown to the Saints. They lost Chris Hogan to the Panthers. They lost Cordarrelle Patterson. They lost Eric Rowe to the Dolphins. They lost Dwayne Allen to the Dolphins. But the big time loss is Mr. 69, Mr. Party Time, Rob Gronkowski. And we're going to beat the Patriots.
Do you have a score, or you're just saying?
I don't have
a
score. I in my article at the end of it, I put this game will be an Eagles lead by 2 points with 1 minute left to go, and the Patriots are on offense, and then you have to keep him and Steven Gostkowski away from field goal range. That's what's going to happen. And Tom Brady's 3-1 in his career during the regular season against the Eagles, but he'll be 3-2. And the Eagles, the last 2 games they faced the Patriots, they're going to be 2-0, 2-game winning streak against the Patriots, which one being the Super Bowl, if anybody forgot.
So I think I have to say I'm definitely on board with that. I truly feel like I wrote an article not too long ago about the Eagles possibly getting into a time period where they're going to start becoming the next NFL dynasty. To me, the Carson Wentz versus the Brady game, the Bill Belichick versus Doug Peterson rematch, it has all the makes of such a phenomenal matchup. I do believe the Eagles do take this because I do believe this season is going to be the start of something surreal with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, man. And then finally, our final game of this 4-game stretch that we're previewing is another home game. We got 3 home games in a row here. In November, we're not away at all in November. This is great. Thanksgiving is great. But this game here is probably gonna be our toughest game on the schedule. Even though it's home, it's against Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks,
which we haven't had luck against in quite some time.
We haven't had luck against them ever when Russell Wilson has been under center. Russell Wilson, I mean, if you all know, Eagles aren't that great against mobile quarterbacks.
Nope, not at all.
And I don't even see even that great. They're not even that good against mobile quarterbacks. And when it comes to Russell Wilson, he has torched the Eagles in his career. Just trying to get you numbers quickly. They drafted DK Metcalf, who is a physical freak, but who knows if he can run routes other than the go route.
Correct. He received high praise so far from Carroll out of Seahawks training camp. My mistake.
Yeah, so they've only really added DK Metcalf and Ziggy Ansah, who, when healthy, he's a force, but that's when he's healthy. Lost Mike Davis to the Bears. They lost Frank Clark to the Chiefs. They traded him for draft picks to the Chiefs. They lost Justin Coleman, who's a really good cornerback. They lost J.R. Sweezy, guard, and they already had issues protecting Wilson and lost guard. But the big-time loss was Earl Thomas, the last Legion of Boom. He's out. I know he was lost earlier in the season due to injury, and as he was being carted off, he gave Pete Carroll and Seahawks brass Nice little flipping the bird there.
There we go.
Name drop there. But they still lost Earl Thomas. But in his career, Russell Wilson is 3-0 against the Eagles, averaging 254 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He was also, in those 3 games, he has 98 total rushing yards.
Good
but
Lord.
It seems low because when you watch these games, he's running so much more than just 98 total rushing yards. Because he's moving around the pocket, he's moving from sideline to sideline, just avoiding tacklers, avoiding defensive tackles, avoiding linebackers, and he's running at least 300 yards and only getting 98 total rushing yards out of it because that's just how much he's gone. But every time he rushes the ball, it seems like it's always for a first down. He's always extending the drive, and he hasn't been unsuccessful against the Eagles, and it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah. So I don't know what to say because it's been hard to watch them against the Seahawks, especially the last game in 2017 where Wentz threw that crazy pass to Nelson Aguilar, but we still ended up on the short end of the stick in that game. It just feels like the Seahawks have our number, which is why I personally feel like I think we take this game.
You think we win this game?
I think we take this game because of the talent that we've added on both sides of the ball. Wilson is a phenomenal. What makes him so phenomenal? He's a phenomenal athlete. So his mobility is just incredible. But I truly believe with the fact that we've added such great defensive depth on our roster, with the Cyprin addition, with Sendejo, with Zach Brown, with even the young guy LJ Fort from the Steelers, I truly think that the Eagles are going to at this point in the season, they're going to find their rhythm, and I'm daring enough to say that I think they take this game.
I mean, the Seahawks have lost a lot. Like I just said it, and
they only have Bobby Wagner back there now, right, in the defense, pretty much.
Right, yeah. So their corners are going to get some work against this Eagles offense. I think it's going to be a shootout, but Russell Wilson last year. No, not last year. 2017, the last time they played each other, it was a 24-10 win for the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. Wilson was only sacked twice. He rushed the ball 6 times for 31 yards. That's a little over 5 yards a carry. He was extending plays. So I just as much as I want to, it's like the Packers game for me. As much as I want to say the Eagles are going to win this game, I think it's going to be a close game. But I just think at the end of the game, they've had November's tough. The Bears, they're going to be a tough game. Mm-hmm. Then they have the bye. Well, who knows if an injury is going to take longer than the bye to heal up for the Eagles. Then they got the Patriots. So these defenders are going to be tired enough. The corners are going to be tired enough running down the field defending Tom Brady's deep passes. And then the following week, you got to chase around Russell Wilson. As much, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope we're wrong. But I think the Seahawks will win this game.
I hope you're wrong too, man, because I personally need to see Wentz show up against these elite quarterbacks. I think it's more than, it's not about the timing of it. It's just the fact of the matter. I think Wentz is a phenomenal quarterback, and he's on the track to be possibly a Hall of Fame quarterback at the end of his career. But yeah, I need to see him to be clutch this season, and I think in that Seahawks game, I think he's going to end up being clutch down the stretch.
I hope you're right. And but actually, I just lied. I thought the Seahawks game was the last game because I counted 4 weeks, but the fourth game of this 4-game series each week. The last game is actually December 1st. So now we're at December 1st now. This is the final game of our 4-game preview each quarter of the season. And we're finally away. But it's a game. It's going to be an away game, but it's going to feel like home because just the amount of people that we've seen already say that they booked their flights to Miami already.
There we go.
They're going to show up December 1st, Christmas in Miami, December 1st. There's gonna be Eagles fans with their bathing suits down there in Miami to watch the Eagles face off against either Fitzmagic, who killed us last year on the Buccaneers, or
that game pissed me off.
or Josh Rosen. So who knows who'll be back there. So they got, like I just said, they got Josh Rosen in trade with the Cardinals. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick in free agency. They signed Dwayne Allen. They signed former Eagle Eric Rowe. They got a new head coach in Brian Flores. But they lost Cameron Wake. They lost Robert Quinn, who went to the Cowboys. They lost Danny Amendola. They lost Josh to sit into a retirement. They lost Ryan Tannehill, who was never that great anyway, which was a stunning move. They traded him to the Titans. The Titans, with Marcus Mariota trading for Ryan Tannehill. And they lost former Eagles future Hall of Famer Frank Gore, who was great for them last year. But this team last year, passing offense was almost last in the league. They were 30th. Rushing offense, they were 18th. Passing defense, they were 21st. Rushing defense, they were 31st. So they gained two quarterbacks, a tight end, and a cornerback this offseason. That's not going to do it. You know, it's easy to look at this game as another one of those trap games like the Buffalo game, because you're looking, they're going to probably be looking past this game, because by all accounts, Dolphins are going to be in the running for the first overall pick in 2020.
Most likely. They're after that quarterback. I think it's from Alabama, right? I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, Tua Tagovailoa, whatever. You know.
Yeah, that guy.
double T squared. Tua.
There we go.
You know, so I was looking at this. I'm like, this is one of those games that could be a trap game. One of those games that you look at it like, oh, that's a win, and the spread. The Eagles are going to probably be a 10-point favorite over the Dolphins. But like last year, the Titans game was a game that everybody was looking at like, oh, the Eagles are going to win. And then Corey Davis had 200-something receiving yards.
His first career touchdown came against the Eagles on that final play.
Yeah, you know.
That irritates me still.
You know, the Eagles are the team that if you're facing the Eagles in fantasy, if you have a player facing the Eagles, start them. That's how they used to be. Like, oh, you don't have Corey Davis against let's start him, and then he has like 40 points for you. You know, Torrey Smith on the Panthers. Facing the Eagles next. Okay, start him. Julio Jones, of course I'm going to start him. He's going to give me 60 points. That's how it used to be for the Eagles. This year, probably not so much because the defense is so much better. But the Dolphins are the typical trap game team. But at the same time, they gained two quarterbacks to help out all their losses. What are they doing? You know, the Dolphins, it's December. They've probably played 10, 11 games already. So this game, it's going to be an Eagles win by at least 20 points.
I definitely see that as well. And I think when you keep saying trap game, every time you say that, what comes to my mind is Kenny Stills. What's the kid's name? Grant. He's a speed receiver as well. And I think they re-signed Devontae Parker too. It was a bit of a headache for us in the preseason game not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. But I think if the Eagles if their secondary could really find ways to fight off the deep ball against these speed receivers, I would say the same thing. It's going to be a blowout win. I think they win no matter what. But I'm walking on eggshells with this prediction just for the fact that if it's Fitzpatrick, then you know you're going to see the deep ball a lot. If it's Josh Rosen, then it's like playing against Daniel Jones.
You're playing against Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's like, you know, playing against the senior citizen down the road.
Pretty much.
Who tapped into the juju that he had from high school and still light you up.
Exactly, and I don't know, we're just becoming a phenomenal player.
Yeah, like he'll be like, oh, I guess I just woke up on the right side of the bed this morning. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, I feel like this has to be his last year.
The first play of that game against the Bucs was to Deshaun, right? It was that I think it was like a post route to Deshaun.
Yeah, because Deshaun, whenever he faced the Eagles, whether it be the Redskins or the Buccaneers, he always showed up. He wanted to remind us what he was with us, and he did a great job doing that every time he played us.
Well, now he's back.
He's back, and we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Thank God.
So now, you know, looking ahead, So right now we both have the Eagles at 10-2 through 12 games so far. The two games we differ on, again, he has the Eagles losing to the Lions and beating the Packers. I have the Eagles beating the Lions and losing to the Packers. He has the Eagles losing to the Bills. I have them beating the Bills. He has them beating the Seahawks, and I have them losing to the Seahawks.
So I think I'm out of the doghouse for now. We're both even, 10-2. There we go. That's what I like to hear.
10-2. We're both 10-2 through 12 weeks. And going into next week, when we preview the next 4 games, the next 4 games are all division games. The Eagles right now, according to both of us, are 2-0 in the season in the NFC East. And the next 4 games, Giants, Redskins, Cowboys, Giants. And that's going to be season. December is going to be fun to watch. It's going to be very noisy in my house because I'm going to have a little infant daughter here crying her eyes out. But no matter how many times she's going to be crying, she's going to be wearing an Eagles jersey every time.
There we go. That's the spirit.
Look for us on Twitter, Flippin Birds Pod at Twitter. I'm at Infante54. That's infant with the E at the end, 54. He's B Cameron, PSN.
Yes, sir.
On Twitter. And just follow us. My follower count has gone a little bit up since we started this. I'm very happy about that. Right now, let's see. Flippin' Birds Pod, we are standing at 135 followers right now. Tell your friends about us. Tell your family. Tell everybody to follow us. By next episode, we should be at 200 followers.
Ooh, I think we should do like a little giveaway by next episode. What do you think? If we reach 200.
I think yeah, we get to 200 followers by next episode. We're gonna do a giveaway for a T-shirt.
Yeah, some PSN merch out there.
That's right. We'll throw that out. We haven't asked our Lord and Savior Liam Jenkins about this yet, but don't worry about that. He'll we got it. Don't worry. We'll send you something. Just to thank you guys for getting us to 200 followers and for listening to us for so long. We'll do a giveaway, and to show our appreciation for you guys.
Absolutely, I'm definitely on board for that. So the next week we'll be giving you guys takeaways from the latest at the training camp. We'll also be answering any questions that you guys shoot to us via Twitter, whether it's the Philly Sports Network handle or the Flippin' Birds handle.
Oh, I need to interrupt you with some bad news. I'm 6 minutes ago, retweeted by, speaking of Liam Jenkins, Elliott Shore-Parks, Joe Ostman got hurt during training camp, and he got taken away by a cart. Looks like it's serious. Poor guy. He
can't catch a break, and they have big expectations for him this season.
He can't catch a break. He was a big time name going in here that he can maybe finally get his shot with the lack of depth at defensive end, and looks like it's going to be another year without Joe Ostman on the team.
I wonder if this opens the door for, Lord willing, a Chris Long return, because Brandon Graham actually was on the radio this week stating that I'm pretty sure that Chris Long has the itch to come back, and if the Eagles presented the opportunity, that he would come back. So I wonder if this kind of opens that door. That would be amazing.
There are 2 names out there that former Eagles that would probably look to come back now with the Grugier Hill injury, and now Ostman, looking at Connor Barwin and Chris Long. We'll see. I'm sure a lot will happen between now and August 11th, our next podcast.
Definitely. So definitely thanks for everybody that tuned in today. I'm glad that you guys joined us for about an hour and a half, and we did give the feel, the energy of the Linc. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you guys next week.
That's right. Go Birds.